Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I seek the blessings of Shri Satya Sai Baba before I speak with you. Humble pranams to my father, my mother. Humble pranams to your parents. Sudhir ji already spoke about the importance of parents in everybody's lives. And I think it's important to understand the role that they play, the sacrifices they do, to do everything possible for you to have this education, this life, and a brighter future. So I think we do owe them a great debt. So Sudhir, thank you for getting those words out, because parents mean everything to us. And just like God, unconditional love is only given by the parents. So I bow down to all the parents here. I bow down to my father and my mother. I seek the blessings of all the saints that have blessed this campus, because of whom we've been able to progress, because of whom we've been able to develop. And I feel there is a great spiritual energy that backs this organization, without which we wouldn't have been able to do so much work. There is a lot to be done. We continue to strive for excellence. We continue to grow our organization. We continue to deploy good people and bring out graduates that eventually will change the world and make a better planet for all of us to live in. I think this patch, somebody cut my microphone. So just, yeah, is my mic working? Hello, mic testing. Yeah, am I back? Okay, now I have to find out who cut my microphone. So these are interesting times that we've grown up in, especially this batch, because we faced the pandemic recently, and I believe education was greatly disrupted. It was all a great learning for us, because we saw so many tragedies across the world, across India. And I feel this batch is extremely resilient, because they have seen things which no other batch will be able to see. Perhaps COVID was an experience which was widely shared across the world, and the only experience that was shared by the entire planet. So this batch particularly is interesting, because you've been doing offline learning and you've been doing online learning. But that does not mean you didn't get the education that you deserved. I think it was a challenging time for educational institutes as well. The teachers had to innovate, the faculty had to innovate, and teaching online was a real challenge. But I think we adapted very quickly. Our country also adapted very quickly. Now that is in the past, and we are forging ahead and looking forward to beyond India. So truly an interesting batch, and I don't think such a batch will ever exist again. So all the best to you, because you faced that challenge very bravely, very valiantly. And I believe you're all graduates here because you put in that hard work even during COVID. Recently, the Prime Minister announced the NEP 2020, and we are fully committed to this education policy, because there have been a lot of radical changes brought about in this education policy. Many of the changes which we have been waiting for decades have now been presently put into system. I always used to passionately speak about education being unshackled from the regulatory mechanisms of different authorities. And only then can educational institutes prosper and excel. And I believe that is happening. There are steps being taken in the right direction, where educational institutions are being given autonomy in terms of the academics they can set up, in terms of the fees they can raise, in terms of the campus facilities. So I believe there is a lot of change happening even at the authoritative level, at the government level, because we all know that India is developing as a very large economy. We have overtaken the United Kingdom in terms of economic growth, which by itself is a great significant step. And I don't see a day very far, perhaps in the near future, give it a couple of years, we'll be one of the most emerging global economies of the world, perhaps even surpass the United States and China. So I think you are the future. You have to go there. You have to prove it. You have to make that happen. Personally, it has always been my desire to speak about the Indian educational system, which is the ancient educational system that we already had. I always speak about the Guru Shishya Parampara that our great nation always had. And somewhere down the lines, I feel that some of these knowledge systems have been given a backseat. The excellent knowledge that exists in the Indian education system should be brought back to the Indian education system. There are many organizations doing this at a ground level. There are many dedicated and committed individuals who are working in the background. But there is so much science in the ancient Indian studies. So I feel we should bring this to the forefront. As a university, we are now launching an advanced Indian Sciences Center where we will be looking at all the ancient Indian knowledge systems that prevailed. Because this knowledge is there, the West is merely rediscovering what has already been written in our scriptures, what has already been given to many of the individuals across India. If you go through the breadths of India, there is some problem with the mic. My sound is back. So we are working on systems where we'll combine the traditional sciences. I always say that there should be an amalgamation of the East and the West. So we are working on practical issues such as physics, astronomy, astrology, time and space. And the Indian sciences even speak about consciousness. The Vedic sciences speak about many more realms of science which have not been discovered. And only now scientists across the world are acknowledging that the Indian scientists, the Indian knowledge systems already had the knowledge that they are discovering. So it's rediscovery that we need to do because these systems already exist. So we are firmly committed to this department. We put in people in place. We are working diligently in the background, both to offer online as well as offline classes. And in the words of Swami Vivekananda, I say, education is the manifestation of perfection already existing in humans. So I feel we need to get that manifestation of perfection amongst you. We are fortunate to hold the G20 summit under the able leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and we see that so many leaders from around the world are visiting India. They're getting a glimpse of a very different India, a glimpse of a very different Bharat, an emerging Bharat, a very strong Bharat. And I believe we all should play a role in this, in assisting our great nation to project the image that we always deserved, the image that we always lacked. And I believe the youth of this nation can do this. Taking a cue from that, our university is developing on a system called the U20, which will be a combination of universities from 20 countries, which will get together under the garb of the G20. We have already reached out to the stakeholders of the G20, the Chief Sherpa, Sri Amikanji's office we are in constant touch with, and also with Harshvardhan Shinglaji, who's heading the G20. So I do believe and hope, yeah, my mic, hello. Okay, I think I'll shift to this mic. There's some problem with the mic. So I do believe that we need to get this in action because no development can come unless there is a combination of exchange of knowledge between developing and non-developing countries. And a G20 is a great opportunity for all the world leaders to get together, to exchange their ideas, to understand each other's cultures, and on a common platform express schemes for the betterment of the planet. I'm extremely happy that under the able leadership of Sri Narendra Modi ji, India is emerging as a $1 trillion economy. We surpassed UK, I earlier said. His dream of a $5 trillion economy has to come true, and it's all in your hands. We need to work diligently together to achieve this, because too often we've been put on the sidelines. People have not accepted India as an emerging power. But times have changed. I believe in the last 2-3 years, whenever you go with an Indian passport anywhere in the world, it is respected. They say that someone from India is arriving. So India has already arrived. I think the time is now to grab that opportunity. In terms of the infrastructure that's coming up in the university, we're developing a lot of new buildings. Unfortunately, due to COVID, we were unable to set up new facilities because of lack of resources, because of lack of labor. So that set us back by almost 2 years, but that's in the past. So brand new academic building to accommodate more than 4,000 students has started. The construction will begin, and we are hoping to finish that in record time of 8 months. So the new graduates will have an excellent facility at their disposal. I always again talk that the students who graduate should merely not just go out and look for jobs, just should not look for setting up their own units and factories. Of course, they should look at success, they should look at doing all these things. But at the same time, I think we should follow the passions of truth, non-violence, and compassion, because these are ingrained in our DNA. I think we need to keep the selfish gene a bit aside and look and think about the greater good for the humanity and for the betterment of the planet. I think Sudhir spoke a little bit about motivation to the students. But like he said, life is a journey. You have to fail, and only through failures you achieve success. It's not a rocket to success that you can get. It's a slow process. You have to be extremely patient. You have to understand, because all the people who have reached places of success, there's extreme hard work behind them. They've worked dedicatedly, they've worked passionately. There are very few individuals by chance of luck who've reached success and have been there. But those are miracles, those are very limited. So you have to work hard. Any success that needs to be achieved, you have to work hard. Just as a child, how he learns to walk, an infant, he falls several times. When you start swimming, you begin to understand to swim better. You have to go through the ups and downs of life to understand that success is not an easy ladder to climb. You have to keep trying, you have to keep trying, and you have to keep going. Eventually you will. But you have to have that dedicated passion within you, with an unwavering mind, with a positive thought that I will achieve it, I will be there. And most important is, don't hide your mistakes. If you make a mistake, own up to it. Think about it. You can always innovate, you can improvise, you can retrospect, you can reflect on what you did wrong, because that allows a real human being to grow. So life is a journey, continue with it. I look at life as a dream. One life is like a dream, and this dream should be beautiful. It depends on how you make that dream come true. Tomorrow's jobs will be certainly different. Today's jobs also certainly different, but the planet is evolving. Technology is evolving at a pace that is unprecedented. We are looking at artificial intelligence coming into the systems, computers computing at a speed that was unimaginable. Technology has reached such a pinnacle that we were only thinking of such things in science fiction movies, but science fiction has today become science fact. And I believe that you will need to cope up with this, because the jobs would be dynamic, the environment would be dynamic, you would need to adapt very quickly to this. And eventually I feel there might be a utopian world where the machines would work and we would just relax and live in a welfare state. But then I don't know where education will be, but what education should make you do is create a betterment for humanity. I always keep talking about that. We have some famous dignitaries on stage. The university is deeply honored with the acceptance of these doctorates. I would like to name Shri Tushar Mehendale, Dr. Pradeep Kurulkar, Shri Pandurang Raut ji, Shri Suresh Katta ji, Nitin Desai ji, and Shri Sudhir Mehta for accepting this honor. Because by accepting this honor, you also demonstrate the ability to reflect into students that you believe in this university. It's a great honor for us, for you to have accepted this doctorate. So we're very grateful that you're here. And your presence, I believe, will certainly inspire the students. When I talk about success, success sits on this dais. And these individuals have each inspiring stories. You should Google them, you should research them, you should find them. Some of them may even mentor you. Sudhir mentioned that he has a number of students in his organization. Tushar has a number of students in his organization. So I believe you can connect with these individuals to understand from their successes, from their failures. Because listening is very important. Listening is extremely important. Guidance is very important. No matter what, any significant thought, any insignificant thought should always be heard, evaluated. That will give you some direction in life on how to go ahead. Prime Minister Modi always says, Vasudev Kutumbakam. We are one organization, we are one planet. The whole planet is our home. And I believe in that. We are all connected. Even if you look into the spiritual realms, we say that we are spiritual experience having a human experience. I'll just give you an example of the human body. If you're running from A to B, it's just not this human that's running from A to B. It's just not Ajeenkya Patil going from A to B. With him, there are a lot of microorganisms within him. There is an ecosystem within his body that is also going with him. Without that ecosystem, without that microorganisms, without all the things that put this beautiful body in place, the human cannot go from A to B. Similarly, I think we need to understand that we are all connected. We are all connected. And one must shed away with all your selfish thought. One must shed away with your ego. One must shed away with pride. One must shed away with hate. One must shed away with jealousy. And think about how we can love each other, how we can live in harmony, how we can live in glory, how we can make the lives of other individuals better. There are so many people on the planet who do not get food to eat, who do not get access to education, who do not have jobs, and who do not have the privileges. I believe that you, as the future, have to think a little different. At least the students from my university. That's an oath that I wish to take from you, that you will go out there and make a change, not for one individual, not for two individuals, but for several individuals. Do it in your own way. I'm sure you'll do it. Listen to my intent very carefully. Please make this a mission in life, that I will change the lives of certain people. I think to achieve that, first you have to be successful. One must be happy within itself. Happiness is also very relative, because one man's happiness could be someone's sadness. But I believe that you should be content with what you have. You should be able to fathom what you can and cannot have, because I don't think you should compare yourselves to anyone. Because if you keep comparing yourselves to someone, there will always be someone greater, bigger, or superior. It doesn't matter. As long as you are happy within yourself doing what you can do, I believe you have achieved success. So success is a ladder that you need to climb with your own heart, with your own passion, with your own emotions. And keep that in mind. Never compare yourself to others. Make an example to others. With several students today, I took selfies, and many of them were telling me that we want to take selfies with you. And I've said this to students earlier, that I hope that you come one day to this campus, or I come to some event where I would need to take a selfie with you. That's how great I want you to be. And that's happened. Many of our students are today leading Fortune 500 companies. They are around the world. They are global leaders. They head organizations like Microsoft, Google, Infosys, Tata. There are so many such individuals from our organization, and I think they've done well for themselves. In fact, our alumni is now a couple of years old, so there is a lot of alumni which wants to contribute. They want to give back to the organization. And I remember the days when these organizations were old, when we used to talk to contribute to these institutions. So there was very little industry participation as far as India was concerned. Anywhere in the West, whether it's the United States or it's the United Kingdom, you see there is a lot of industry interaction that happens. A lot of industry sponsors the facilities. They put up research facilities. And I believe India is lacking a little in research, because it's been many years that no inventions have come out of India. And most of the inventions were there in our ancient days. But often we live in the past, and often we think about the future, but we don't grab the now. So I think it's important to grab the now. We need to get some intellectual property out of India. It's happening. The youngsters are thinking very differently. You have access to technology. You have access to a globally connected world. You have access to a country which has great leadership, and you have access to excellent facilities. So make the most of it. I would like to thank Shri Vinod Taudeji for honoring me by giving this university, because he was the education minister when the Act for the private universities were passed. And it's been a few years, but we have a gratitude for individuals who have made a difference to education in Maharashtra. Vinod Taudeji took the step in the right direction to allow private universities to be set up in Maharashtra, and it was because of his leadership that these universities flourish. Devendra Fadnavis ji is another individual who I owe a great debt to, because under his leadership, this university was given the status that it deserved, which we were struggling for many, many years. So these are some inspiring people who inspire you, how one individual can make a difference. Because that act and the thought that those leaders thought of today has culminated into all these graduates who will go out, create change, and meaningfully be deployed for the country and the world. Because I'm sure you will make a change. So that's how education is contributing to the development of the nation. Education has always been looked at as a charity, as a service. But I believe education should be looked as a sector. It should be looked as a sector which can bring in great wealth to the country, which can generate lot of employment, which can generate lot of individuals who can come into the system and contribute to the betterment of the country. So education has to be unshackled from the authoritative strategies and policies that have come over a period of time. And the NAP is a step in the right direction, so we laud that. My father was to attend this graduation today. However, he's now aged a little bit, so I didn't want to trouble him to sit on this dais for very long, but he sends his blessings. He's not been keeping too well, but every time I meet him, I greet him, he smiles at me. And I remember I started working at a very young age. I started when I was 13 or 14. I used to accompany him everywhere. Even coming back from school, I was always interested in work. I wanted to be a scientist. I didn't want to be an educationist. But today I'm happy that I'm an educationist because we can create many more scientists, we can create many more doctors. One scientist wouldn't have made a difference. So many of you certainly can. And Dada used to tell me that there is a dream that I have. There is a dream that his father had. His father couldn't complete that dream. So he said, I'm trying to complete that dream. He says, if I can't complete that dream, you complete that dream. If you can't complete that dream, your next generation needs to complete that dream. So that's the vision that we have for the growth of this nation. That's the vision, that's the commitment, that's the dedication that this family has for the development of this nation. And we'll work relentlessly to make that possible, to better the lives of the people. We are also setting up a medical school at this campus. Work on the hospital will begin in a couple of months. So Deshpande said he's adding a number of students. I think I need to add to that tally because many more campuses are coming up with the assistance of new buildings. We are also doing a Ati Rudra Puja from the 9th to the 19th February, and I invite you all to attend this puja because this puja is just not for the development of the campus. There is a great significance in this yagna. This yagna creates powerful energy, which again energize the entire society around you. It is for the betterment of the world. It is for the betterment of humanity. So please visit. The Ati Rudra will happen in the campus from the 9th to the 19th February. I'm a follower of Satya Sai Baba. Before I go, I would like to quote him. He says, and I quote, there is only one caste, that's the caste of humanity. There is only one language, the language of the heart. And there is only one religion, the religion of love. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, thank you very much. God bless you all. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra.